They say you are what you eat, and around here, that says a lot. Out of all of the United States, the Central Midwest just does food the best, because even when we make a mistake in the kitchen, it still tastes delicious. Let's start with the Reuben. It wasn't intentional, but it did stick around. There are two stories about how the Reuben sandwich came to be. The more recognized story takes place during a poker game at a hotel in Omaha, Nebraska in 1925. Local grocer Reuben Kulikowski asked the hotel staff for a corned beef sandwich. Although it was not a menu item, the staff delivered a sandwich they made up on the spot, which became a classic and even won the first ever National Sandwich Idea Contest in 1956. Even our mistakes win awards. If you haven't tried a Reuben sandwich, then maybe you don't know what a Midwest mistake tastes like. However, I would wager that you've probably tried a cheese puff. This common snack was also unintentionally invented in the Central Midwest. Unlike the Reuben, however, it wasn't a kitchen mistake per se. The cheese puff was created in Beloit, Wisconsin at an animal feed plant. When an employee was cleaning out a corn grinder, he noticed that the corn had puffed up after it was heated. He later brought the puffed corn home and seasoned it with cheese, which became what is now known as the cheese puff. But we aren't here to talk about the Reuben, or even taco pizza, which is another Central Midwest accident. I'm here to tell you about the best example of a hungry little accident, which is the toasted ravioli. Not only was it an accident, it is a staple to the people of St. Louis, and one place in particular is changing that tradition and building on what started as an honest mistake.
There's like 3 different people who claim to have invented the toasted ravioli. You got Mama's on the Hill, you got Charlie Gino's, and I think it's Lombardo's. And I don't really know who actually invented it. They say the story was a cook one night accidentally dropped a ravioli into the fryer, and thus the toasted ravioli was born. But all I know is that we make some of the best and most creative, and so that's all I'm really worried about. So we started in the City Foundry about 3 years ago, and then we opened up on the Hill, which is the America's Last Little Italy is what they call it, and we're really excited about that tradition that we're bringing on. So in the next couple of years, I think we're going to become a real staple in this community.
I feel like we're doing stuff that people haven't seen before out of ravioli. Like everyone has the traditional beef, the cheese, and just like sauce, like marinara straight up. And that's great because that's the base of what we're doing. But I feel like the way we've expanded upon that, especially with the dessert ravioli, because that's no one else does that. So I feel like that's for sure something that sets us apart with everybody else.
Speaking of desserts, have you ever had an unforgettable sundae? No, not the day of the week. Sort of. I mean the ice cream treat. In 1881, there were these things called blue laws that prohibited the sale of ice cream sodas on the Sabbath. So on one unforgettable Sunday in Two Rivers, Wisconsin, a clever shop owner served ice cream topped with chocolate syrup instead. And just like that, the first ever sundae was born. But I digress. Good food tends to do that to you around here. In the Central Midwest, we've learned to work within our limits, and somehow that's where the best ideas start.
One reason we kind of based it around toasted ravioli is because it's very time consuming. So like we didn't really have time for other stuff. It was like, okay, if we're going to focus on this, let's focus on this one item and do it as many different ways and make it like, as creative and fun as possible. So we decided to do that, and we were honestly the first toasted ravioli centric restaurant that ever opened in St. Louis. So it's kind of crazy, for as long as it's been around, no one's actually just focused on the toasted ravioli. It's always like an appetizer or something like that. Well, it's special to me because I grew up eating toasted raviolis, right? And it was an idea that I didn't think I was going to do. I was like, it'd be cool if somebody made a bunch of different types of toasted wrap, because really around town there's only like 1 or 2 flavors. And so it's special to me that I'm getting to reinvent a classic for like the community, you know what I mean? And it feels cool to be a part of something like that. Back in 2013, I had the idea of like, when food trucks were really popping off, I'm like, oh, it'd be cool if somebody had a food truck that served a bunch of different types of toasted wraps. But I didn't think it'd be me, right? And so fast forward 7 years later, I've always been a musician by trade, and I was supposed to go on tour with an artist, and it all got canceled because of the pandemic. And then a month later, I crashed my car because I passed out at the wheel. So it's like a lot of circumstances happened at once And I spent that whole year not being able to work, didn't have much going on. I was depressed, and my wife very lovingly was like, it's time to get off your ass and do something. I'm like, you're right. She's like, you're such a good cook. Why don't you do, something that you love in food? And I'm like, let's do toasted wraps. Let's take this idea and let's just go for it. And the response we got pretty immediately was so positive. We were like, it's gonna work. You want to be leaving an imprint. I think we're doing that. So it really means, how can we collaborate with our fellow business owners and our fellow community leaders, and like to really bring a sense of, this is ours, that we're championing it. Like I want it to be like the Philly cheesesteak. Like you go anywhere in the country and there's a Philly cheesesteak on the menu because it's so popular. Like I want that for toasted raviolis. You know what I mean? Like I want that to be more nationally known. Yeah.
Food might start with a recipe, but what people remember is the care behind it. That's what keeps a local favorite alive, and what people feel every time they take a bite.
I want people to feel like, oh man, this is done with love. It's done with excellence. It's done with the highest quality ingredients. It's done with passion. I think that speaks a lot in food. And today it's so easy to go to some chain and get something that's, like I say, half-assed done. It's good, but it's never great. So I want things to be great. No matter what. Our menu's small. We don't have a lot of items. But every single thing we do with excellence, and we do with care,
I hope they feel that the care that goes into it, honestly. Like, we don't want to have a bunch of products that come out of a bag or pre-made or stuff like that. Like, we want to make everything with our hands, touch everything with our hands from scratch, baseline ingredients. And I hope they can taste that. I hope they can feel that. And just the passion that both of us have for food, also I hope that's something customers will feel when they come in here.
The business that was here before us was a 75-year-old family-owned business that was local to the hill, and they closed down, and there was a lot of traditions that the neighborhood was missing out on because they were gone. So we've been able to take over some of those things and bring that back to the community, and we're just really excited about what's going to happen next,
They say you are what you eat. And if that's true, then the Central Midwest is made of hungry little accidents. Proof that what roots us can still move us forward.